What up, what up, what up, what up? It is episode number 38 of On My X. Y'all thought just because there wasn't a ton of Halo action that we wouldn't be here? You thought wrong. We're here for another great episode. I'm joined by the boys. First and foremost, the national champ, Wes Price Clutch. How's your week going, brother?
First and foremost, Basil. It was good.
I was like, why did he intro like that?
It was solid. Got to cast some Halo once again this weekend. Went out and had some drinks on Friday. It was nice.
Love that.
The world's getting a little bit more so back to normal. Obviously wearing a mask and whatnot when I do so. Trying to stay safe, but also trying to live my life. So, it felt good to have a drink outside. And,
live your life, man. Live your life.
Weather's getting better up in Seattle. It's not raining all the time. There's actually a sun out. I think it was like near 70 degrees too. So good weather, good times, and good Halo actually.
And your beard is on the come up. What's the deal there?
Forgive me. Yeah, beard lives another week. We're growing it out. It's not bad. I'm wondering, like, I have zero idea of how to actually maintain a beard. Right, I just put shampoo in it and I don't know what else. I gotta do some YouTube research after this and see
YouTube is key.
Yeah, are people combing their beards regularly?
Oh, yeah.
What are you doing to maintain this thing? Am I supposed to be
beard
trimming
oil.
it? Am I supposed to be trimming it every couple of weeks to have it all grow out at the same rate or something? I don't know. I literally know nothing about growing a beard. This is by far the longest my facial hair has ever been in my life. So it's a learning process, right? It doesn't look bad. I'm getting compliments from a few of the women that were out. So, hey, we're rocking with it. And if we're getting compliments, something's going right. So,
you'll
I wish I could
that.
contribute to the beard conversations, but I can't, so I won't. but my week was good.
I didn't intro you yet, dude. Hold on one second. I gotta give you a nice. We gave Wes a nice
second
intro.
Second most.
Oh my gosh!
I don't even want to be introed right now. I try to just gloss over it.
If you guys got beard tips though for Wes, put those in the comments.
Yeah, I need YouTube videos, Wikipedia's, research books, whatever you got for me.
I'm interested in the fact that your mustache is so much lighter than your beard.
That's the problem.
You got some color, stuff going on. We'll figure that out. But, next up on the show, he is also a champ. He is also an incredible Halo player, great caster. 1/3 of what makes On My X. It's your boy Goofy, Faisal Khan. Now you can tell us about your week, bro.
Yes, thank you for that mediocre introduction compared to Wes.
Second most though.
I'm playing. No, I appreciate you, Justin. All good. The week was good, man. Just nothing significant. Thinking about. Oh, actually, Ramadan's still going on, so I should mention that I've been participating in fasting, so that's been a tough challenge, or it's been a fun challenge, I should say. And other than that, work is going good. I've been getting back into working out, just trying to stay healthy. I'm taking a hiking trip at the end of...
You're going on a hiking trip or you're taking a hiking trip?
So I'm going on a hiking trip. Sorry.
Okay. You take a hiking class or something.
Yeah, no, you're right. I'm going on a hiking trip. I'm going to be going to Yosemite for the first time at sometime in the end of May. So I'm really excited for that. Just trying to get in shape, make sure, I don't roll any ankles or kind of, get out of breath when I'm doing some crazy hikes. So trying to get back into shape. But other than that, just good week. Looking forward to the podcast, man.
Yeah, man. I saw some pictures of myself today and I was like, whoosh, I need to be on that fast game too, I guess. Being at my parents' house, my mom is always cooking nonstop and just putting food in front of me, and it's hard. It's hard to stay in shape. So I'm right there with you in wanting to get back on the fitness grind a little bit. It's always rough being the person to open the episode because no one asks you how your week.
How are you doing, man?
But
I'll have face last.
You were talking about rolled ankles. It's kind of funny. I was telling Wes before the show started. We went to the lake today out in the boat. Some of our friends have a boat, so we go and do some lake days. And I climbed up on this boat and, like any decent human being would do, to jump off into this lake and soared off this boat and landed in water that looked deep. And it was about probably 1 foot deep. And I felt literally both my ankles roll at the same time. So I'm sitting on basically 2 sprained ankles.
Are you
At the
serious?
moment. Yeah, it's pretty. I was actually happy I didn't break them because it was so like the landing was so harsh. It was bad. Yeah.
Wait, I'm sorry. Can you explain again what happened? How that happened?
So
I
like
jumped
we.
in water like this and hit the water, but there
Oh
was not much water.
no!
There
But
was
there was
grass.
not. Yeah. Yeah. So I felt that, and I was able to walk it off, but I felt like how. I don't know, like when
That hurts.
your stance is just not normal. And I was like, I can walk now, but I know later when I'm not walking, when I'm sitting, it's gonna creep up, and I can literally feel them like getting swollen right now.
You
So I'm
need to
sitting
ice.
here. So
Yeah,
yeah, I'm
good,
gonna.
good thing you were able to stand and kind of like walk it off though. Sounds
Yeah.
like because
Yeah, yeah, it was really bad.
Anti-inflammatories and ice.
Yeah, I'm gonna have
As
to do that
Steve
the
Smith
second we
once
get
said,
off here.
ice up.
ice up.
Ice up, yeah. But it's been a good week, man. I'm glad to be here with you guys, ready to talk some Halo. Wes, there was some action over the weekend. Why don't you catch us up on kind of what went down?
Yeah, Shawai and I casted the esports arena, the first leg of the qualifiers for the esports arena, $25,000. I'm just gonna call it an extravaganza. So what it is it's free for all qualifiers, and it's actually a pretty cool system they got going. Nothing I've ever seen before in Halo. But I'll get to the details in a second. But so there's qualifiers. 2 people qualify every week, and at the end of 4 weeks, there'll be 8 people qualified, and then they all get put into a 1v1 bracket, where at the end, the final 1v1 is for like $10,000 or something ridiculous. And it's like out of a pool of like 15K for the 1v1s, but the top 6 every week are getting paid. So if you get top 6, you get a little bit of piece of this $2,500 prize pool every weekend. So a little bit of money on the line for these guys. I think like the last time someone competed for 10 grand was probably the last Worlds in 2018. So
True.
A lot of money on the line. Frosty and Saiyan were actually the 2 that qualified this past weekend. Surprise, surprise, right? It's Frosty and Saiyan. Who would have thought?
Yeah, seriously.
Wasn't it kind of tricky to like sign up? Like you had to find a Kellogg's box or do some kind of like code thing.
Yeah, you got to buy a Kellogg's product from, I believe, Walmart, and they have codes that will give you that free entry into the tournament. So it's real easy to sign up. You have to live in the United States in order to compete. So
that makes sense to me.
Unfortunate if you're not a United States citizen, I don't believe you're able to compete. But the top 6 was a pretty stacked little lobby. Eco Smith made it all the way, got 3rd. Unfortunately, only 2 people can advance, so Eco got bounced. But I strongly think that Eco is probably going to be one of the 8 that we see advance. He was playing lights out all day. People were always questioning, like, can Eco play individually like that strong? He's like the IGL for Splice. We all know that. Like, is this gameplay really going to transfer over from 4v4s to free-for-all?
If that's a question in your mind, you're literally so delusional.
Yeah, like, Eco's an absolute unit. One of the best players in that world, hands down. Individually, he's probably one of the best IGLs in the world. Only behind, I would think, like either Frosty or Snakebite. But like probably saying behind is like not even fair to the kid because of what he's done in the past few years. Septify was there, Swish, and then Vimsy. So a lot of individual like amateurs.
A solid group.
Those guys are all super talented. I expect all of them to be somewhere near that qualifying round again next week. We also saw people like Renegade and Bound actually get bounced a little bit earlier than the final.
Dang.
They're gonna come in hot next time around, though. You know.
Yeah. If
Are
Renegade
these 6 mans, 8 mans? Like how many
6 man
people?
free-for-all,
6 mans.
6 man.
Okay.
So it's like a little bit of room to breathe on maps. A lot of the time, like unlike other free-for-alls that I've watched that are 8 mans, it's like you're looking for people a lot more so than like engaged in constant action. So a little bit different pace, I would say, in a 6-man free-for-all for sure.
I feel like there's more 1v1s.
Yeah, absolutely there are.
6-man was definitely the move for Halo 5, though. It was absolute chaos when it was 8 mans when they were trying that early on. So I definitely feel like that's, if you're playing Halo 5, that's probably the way to go.
So a lot of the goats that were competing in it, like Penguin, competed in it. Boobadooboo made it pretty far. I think he made it to the second to last round. I know Renegade and Bound got bounced. So that it's going to get really intense when we get to the last week of qualifying, and there's still a lot of these guys that haven't qualified. Only 2 people are going to make. Like that's going to be a hype weekend, right? So super excited for that opportunity for Halo to have that, and for the pressure to really be on some of these all-stars to perform with some of these top amateurs that really got it going in free-for-all and have a ton of skills. So
it kind of bums me out because you talk about like all these goats jumping in. It bums me out to not see the actual FFA goat Straight Stick come in and get some games around this.
Stop.
Why isn't he? Well, I guess he hasn't really played H5 in a long time, but Straight Stick is definitely in my head when I would think of FFAs. I mean, obviously Pistola is the
like
FFA goat, but Straight Stick is up there as well. Straight Stick is. I mean, you cannot say he's not one of the greatest FFA players in Halo. He's definitely one of the greatest. So, what is he? I know he's your boy. Like, why doesn't he play Halo 5?
I think he had the VCR Xbox, like the first Xbox One. It's like he never got the One X and all that stuff. And I think going back from Halo 3 PC to Halo 5 when he was trying to do that with commonly, like really just he couldn't vibe with it. He was playing on like a games case because he didn't have a 60 hertz monitor anymore, like all that stuff. So he just felt like it was more of a chore to put in the work to get back to where he wanted to be. Like when you play at a high level and then you go away and you come back and you're not playing the way you would expect yourself to, like that's kind of a mental hurdle you got to overcome. And he just didn't want to put in the effort to do it. He would rather just kind of play Halo 3 PC and enjoy that, But, if he was playing in these things, I mean, he would qualify. It's no doubt in my mind. So does it go straight to 1v1s, Wes? Like when it goes to the 8 people that qualify, there's not a free-for-all after that, so it's just...
No, it goes straight to 1v1.
2, and then ones. Okay.
Yep.
Man, dude, ones in Halo 5 are their own beasts, man.
Apparently Bound's nasty at 1v1.
That's what I'm thinking in my head.
With it, I don't know if he qualifies. Like, he's solid enough, but... There's so much competition trying to fight for those last 6 spots. It's like
it's so telling that Frosty and Sane are the first 2 to qualify.
Oh yeah,
that's so telling.
Yeah,
honestly.
I mean, we talk about them being 2 of the top 3 players right now, right? We always say they are the best players. Free for all, it's all about you. You have no excuses. You have no one to blame but yourself. Something I've always loved about them. And so, yeah, I think a lot of folks that normally wouldn't be a threat to someone like Bound or Renegade qualifying now are because, it's just it's kind of its own thing, So
what do y'all think about that? Where do y'all think FFAs need to be a bigger part? And this is just off the cut. Like, obviously we went over some notes and stuff before every show, but I'm just asking this topic out of thin air. Do y'all think FFAs deserve to be like back in the competitive Halo scene more so than they are, like kind of how they used to be in Halo 2 and MLG back in the early MLG Halo days, where FFAs almost like seeded you for tournaments in some cases. In other cases, like FFA tournaments would have their own hype, and then 4v4 would have their own hype. Do y'all think Halo should kind of going into Infinite, should we have 4v4s and 2v2s and FFAs? Like, should we diversify, or do you think 4v4 is the way to go?
You want to go first, Wes?
Sure. Yeah, I don't see why not, right? Like, I think seeding 4v4s from FFAs, that's kind of wrong.
Yeah, that's not ideal.
I don't agree
for the
with
first
that.
event, like, I don't mind, but like, yeah, like overall doing that. Go ahead. Sorry, don't want to cut you off.
I don't know what's going on in my ears. Oh, never mind. I'm sorry.
Technical difficulties.
I was hearing voices. Okay, let's just
what? Are you okay?
I had Sabrosa in my ear. I had a stream up, and all of a sudden, somehow it got unmuted. And the last thing I want to hear during this podcast is Sabrosa. Anyways, yeah, I think like free for all is like a cool, like different way to test a separate skill in Halo, and there is a skill set to it. There is talent there. It is an opportunity for amateurs to showcase kind of their individual skill and maybe get noticed by those in between semi-pro teams that like can find these young guns and they can manifest that into a potential 4v4 career in a sense. But I don't ever want it to impact the 4v4, like what's important to Team Halo, right? I think that's more important than anything. I think it's always cool to give opportunity to free-for-alls, 1v1s, 2v2s. Let these guys duke it out in a little bit different format and see if they can have success and who's the best at that. Because we've already seen, like in Halo 3, the 2v2, the money twos matches that go down, like Trippy and Rain are winning those. Like,
but if everyone plays them, it would be a different story.
Trippy's kind of a twos god, dude. Trippy's been doing his thing in twos long before he was even a pro.
I mean, to each their own. Like, you have this skill set. Like, there was this. Like, I always enjoyed twos as well, and it was like I honestly felt like I was probably a better twos player than I ever
You
was
and Scotty?
player. Yeah,
That was a little duo. Wait,
I mean, we used to run it up all the time. We used to run money matches in the basement, and I said, "Please give me your cash lunch, please." Come on, side a neighbor. I appreciate. Yeah, I had a neighbor fund down there where I literally was able to pay for everyone's lunch at times because, I mean, the neighbor funds were coming in hot, right? Unfortunately, but all jokes aside, like there are different skill sets, and I really do enjoy players being able to be versatile and enjoy those skill sets and express those and be on a stage in order to perform those in front of fans. Creates like just a different style rather than like the 4v4. But no free for all should never like take over that or be greater than that. That's why like the global championship back in the day, I kind of like that left a bad taste in my mouth. Like I didn't compete in it. I didn't even play Halo at that time. But when I saw that was like a thing, I was like, they should just be doing that for fours. Like, because that's where everyone's put their time and effort into. That's where everyone's crisp at. That's what everyone's like perfecting over time. And it was almost like taken away from that. So there's always going to be that fine line for me where it's fours is the only thing that really matters. And everything else is kind of a sideshow, but I enjoy the sideshows.
I don't know. I think I kind of disagree a little bit on the last point about globals, just because, like, I don't know, I felt like the global championship was just a chance for, it was Halo 4 first and foremost, which we know what that was, and it was a kind of a chance for some up and comers to shine, which at the end of the day, it was all pros in the end anyways. So I guess
that was a lot of money though. It's the first time Halo saw a prize pool like that.
Yeah.
Last time Halo ever saw a prize pool like that for an individual.
Yeah. For me, I love free for alls. I mean, I think that they have been, especially back in the day, 2006, 2007, when they were like a main event. It was like Friday was the free for all, and that was a main event of the weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
I loved that vibe. I loved the fact that you got a chance to showcase your talent. Like I said, maybe you didn't have the best team that weekend, but you knew in free for all it was only up to you and you alone, and so that way there was no excuses. I don't think we get the rise of Pistola without him bursting onto the scene in free for all and showing people what he was made of.
I think Pistola's rise was inevitable.
I mean, maybe. I mean, I would say yes, but I would imagine the free for all boosted that trajectory for sure. You know, when people were scouting, I think when you have players, you know, on the older end of the spectrum, maybe like Wes on the way, like, you know, scoping out to see who's the next up and coming gun. It's so easy to look at those free for alls and be like, man, that kid is nasty. I could guide that. I could mentor that. I could, you know, direct that. So I say yes. However, and this is a big however, the only thing that I would say no to a free for all with is if it was replaced with a battle royale event. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. That would be the most lit thing ever, where it's like
free for all.
You got like a BR free for all event instead. I think that would be unreal.
A different version of free for all.
A Halo battle royale would just be so badass.
Could you imagine that, Faisal? Like a tournament, like
the tournament would be amazing. But even just if there's a Halo battle royale, dude, I would be playing that thing every single day, like all day. I've recently become addicted to just battle royale games in general. You know, I play Warzone a lot, and Halo battle royale would be insane. But to give my quick 2 cents on it, I'm actually right kind of on both sides. I like both of y'all's points. I think you guys covered it perfectly. I think specifically for the global championships, like to Justin, to your point, you're saying it's cool because everyone got a chance at this crazy amount of life-changing money. But to Wes's point, it's almost like the competitive integrity of it, like Halo and esports and first-person shooter games are structured to be like this team-centric kind of format. So like so many people who have played for hours or for years playing Halo just randomly got hit with a free-for-all tournament for all this money, and as compared to if it was a 4v4, I think it would have been more telling of like Halo's history, I guess, or Halo's competitive history. But maybe that's probably, maybe that's not what they were going for. They're probably just trying to
competitive Halo scene, right? Like guys are trained, and like you're trained as a Halo player to be good at fours. You're not trained necessarily to be good at free for all.
Yeah, but we were back in the day, like Halo 2 with the Torta Walshes and stuff. Like we were grinding that crap, dude.
Like I get that the Fridays were like super cool, especially like being an amateur and being able.
But it was all about the Sunday nights. Like it was all about the Sunday nights.
Players like I remember top pros like not even competing in the free for all. Like it wasn't even like worth their time. They were like, I'm not doing that. I remember like watching some pros just show up in flip flops and be like, yeah, I'll watch the sideshow, but like it's not even like I'm too good to compete in this.
It's almost like in the NBA, you have like the All-Star weekend, you have the skills challenges.
Yeah,
like
it's
it's
exactly
like
what it
someone
is.
shooting. It's like a 3-point. You know,
I don't know, man. I feel like in
Exactly what
Halo
it is.
2, I feel like the dudes that were sitting out in Halo 2 weren't good enough. If I'm being honest, like
Bro, I think like the ogres were sitting out. So before you say
no,
that, like,
they weren't sitting out. Ogre 2 was heavily involved in those free for alls.
I don't know if they
Check the
competed
tape.
in all the free for alls. I'm fairly certain that a lot of the top dogs, like the Carbon guys, some of those guys, like literally did
Karma,
not compete. I mean,
like-
Karma did. Well, yeah, that.
The ones that weren't competing, I feel like were the ones that didn't have the proceed, that didn't want to go through M because they were gonna get embarrassed or get, you know what I mean? Like I don't know.
Ooh,
I'm just
hot
saying. I'm
takes,
just
hot
saying.
takes.
Like
I don't
if
think
you
they
had a
wanted to
proceed, they
stress
were
over-
playing.
I don't know if I feel like if I'm a top pro at that time, I'm like, I'm here for fours. That's where the money is. That's where my focus needs to be. I'm gonna relax on Friday. I'm gonna have a great dinner. I'm not gonna stress over some random free for all tournament that gets me $5,000 at the end. I got my eyes on the $100,000 like prize pool, like every day of the week. I'm here for one reason and one reason only. I'm not attempting to be distracted by or exhausted by a full day of free for all. Right?
Yeah, I don't know. I think in that time, I mean, you played Halo 2, Wes. Like, how many hours upon hours upon hours did we spend in free for alls? Like,
I mean,
I
yeah,
would say
but
for me it was
that's 'cause
almost
I was on
even.
the come up. Like
Yeah.
those guys are there.
I mean, even I don't know. I feel like it changed obviously with Halo 3 and everything after that, but I felt like in Halo 2 it really was like, I mean, even the MLG guys to this day say it was a main event. It was part of the tournament, you know.
Yeah, let us know in the descriptions in the comments. Let us know if you think free for all, belongs in Halo. Do you think Halo moving forward in Halo Infinite should it be a bigger part of like determining your skill and where you stand and as like a pro player? Let us know your thoughts. But we also, I'm gonna transition us into a question, a fun question we have for today's show on my X number 38. Is going to be who is the most underrated Halo pro player of all time. I'm going to get this one started off with Hunter JJX.
No, don't start with me. Start with someone else. Start with you or Wes. I got
Really?
I'm still the cogs are still a tournament. I'm not ready to go yet.
He's gonna say straight sick.
No, I've already established he's the GOAT when it comes to free for all.
You think he's a
That's
goat
it.
over Pistola? In
Over
Absolutely.
Karma, over Strong Side.
Karma was a ones god, first and foremost. Yeah. How many events did Strong Side win? Anyways, keep going. Whatever.
Scotty was better than straight sick.
You're out of your mind. Anyways.
Straight sick won a bunch of free for alls with amateur players in it.
Okay, let's do the subject.
I'll
Okay,
be nice.
let's do the topic. So Wes, you want to start it off?
I'm a straight sick fan for the record.
Yeah, shout out Straight Sick.
For the record, I F with straight sick hard. Me and him should have teamed at one point. I'll say that.
That's a story for another day. I'm interested to hear that one. But Wes, are you cool to go with your most underrated pick? Do you have it ready?
I have an obvious or I have the answer that you guys are gonna hate, and then I'll probably have to put some thought into my actual answer because you guys aren't gonna accept my first one. The most underrated player of all time is Lethal.
Oh my god.
Absolutely, it is. Lethal's by far the most underrated. He's the most successful. He gets no credit at all for literally being the greatest player of all time. So if we want to talk about most underrated, it's hands down. I think it's Lethal. Like that, I do not hear his name enough in conversations with commentators, with players, with like fans or anything. Like it's always the Roll 2 show, the Frosty show, the Roy and Lunchbox show, Snipe Down on EG. No, it's Lethal every day of the week. Greatest player of all time, not even a debate. And
Whoa.
Oh, it's a debate. I'm gonna let Faisal
How
go
is it
first.
not a
though.
debate? Greatest player.
No debate. And for you guys to question it makes him the most underrated player of all time. Thank you for stating my case for me, both of you. That being
So
said,
I'll go next.
I know that's not an acceptable answer.
Okay,
So
go ahead.
My
No.
most underrated player of all time is the guy 50 yards away from me. That's Richie Hines. I think when I think of Richie Hines, I mean, cold as can be at every Halo he ever played.
Didn't he win an MVP? Did you just say an MVP is the most underrated player of all time?
Best player 09.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still think he's underrated. I still think he was. I teamed with him. I had When I teamed with him, I was like, Richie, you are like, that kid was something special. Before I teamed with him, he was something special.
Mm-hmm.
In Halo Reach, he was something special. In 4 and H2A, like, I mean, that guy was absolutely insane. I think if people did a list of like their greatest Halo players of all time, I bet you a lot of them like don't even say the name Hines when they start making their list, like in the top like 15-ish in a sense. I mean, you're gonna have your ogres, you're gonna have an ogre, you're gonna have like
Oh my
Jeez,
God.
bro, dude, like what?
Well, I mean, one of the ogres played back on tube TVs with no heaven. Don't get me started. That being said, I honestly think Richie is probably undervalued on just about every team. You talk about triggers down, they were always talking about Hysteria, Pistola, what they were doing. In the Reach tournaments, in the Reach tournament that he won on that team, it was like how nasty is formal. No, it's like Richie Hines does so much in every facet of the game. He plays perfect Halo and he doesn't miss when he does it. I'm a big Hines fan.
Yeah.
So to recap, Wes thinks an MVP is the most underrated player of all time, and like the most winning is probably the most popular Halo 3 streamer at right now. You know, is also the most underrated player of all time. I'm just like so. Just
underrated is like where the public thinks this player was and where I think this player is, right? That's what underrated to me means.
It's not
that's the wrong definition.
So it's not where the public
me.
thinks and then where they actually are. It's where the public thinks and where Wes thinks they are is what makes them underrated.
It's my most underrated player. Yes, yes.
Okay, so this is
my thought on who this player was as a Halo player is what I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm. I actually, I like those answers.
Thank you.
I disagree with a lot of what you said. Although I do like your answers. I think Richie was a very underrated player, and he's nasty. Like
he was an absolute unit, like a problem for people that they could not solve.
No, he was extremely and lethal. To your point, I think he's had really, really good teammates as well when he's had his major success. But obviously, like he is the common. What?
Is he trying to say that he didn't have great teammates?
He's had some good teammates, man.
Like he hasn't had 3 of the top 10 best players of all time on his team for like the last 5 years.
Wes disagrees. Wes doesn't think that Lethal's. I'm not saying taking anything away because if anything, he was a common denominator in the teams that won.
Is Royal 2 a top 10 player of all time?
Rewind.
Is Royal 2 a top 10 player of all time?
Timeout, rewind. When I just brought up Lethal, did you just start bringing up how great his teammates are?
Yeah. How great they are and how great they have been.
For everyone watching, I hope this proves my point. My case is right.
No. Okay, so the reason I say that
talking about his teammates. When I talk about Lethal, I'm not talking about Royal 2, Snakebite.
Well, you didn't let me. I said what I was going to say once you took the headphones off was the common denominator in like the teams. So when he was on teaming with Roy and Lunch and Snipedown, they were winning, and then he switches over to obviously like with Snakebite and Royal 2, and then they start winning. So he is a common denominator there. That's for sure. That's why I brought up the fact, or that's what I was trying to get to. But in saying that, like I think either way, great answers. Eco, my answer. Dang, I just gave my answer away. My answer for the most underrated player is Eco. I think Eco Smith. Obviously, we were just talking about him earlier in the show. He's the IGL of that Splice roster and now of this Cloud9 roster. Similar to Lethal, similar to Hines. He has teammates that get talked about a lot. He teamed with Shotzi. Now he's teamed with, Renegade is just, people say is one of the best players in the game. And, there's always Eco in the background, kind of directing everyone. Eco in the background, getting the kills, timing the weapons, getting the, important kills when they matter. And I think he, similar to the Lethals of the world, the Hines of the world, the Lunchboxes of the world, it's natural for us as viewers and as players, commentators, whatever, to give, because Wes kept stressing like, oh, we only talk about the Snipedowns of the world or the Roys or the Formals. It's because they're the ones putting on the show, like in the grand scheme of things. But I think the winning plays that us as players recognize, that's where we like give credits to the Hines of the world, to the Ecos, to the Lethals. But, it's really easy to say that, whenever they're teaming with Formals and Snipe Downs and Royal Twos and Frosties, it's like, oh, everyone only talks about those guys. Well, it's because those guys are really nasty and fun to watch. But that's why topics like this are fun. That's why I think it's important to shine light on Justin trolling on the what does that even say? Headphones thrown too. Good counter.
Justin will be trolling when he gives us his answer, I'm sure.
Yeah, but not to drag on too long.
I think the Eco answer. I think you did it. I don't think you did him justice with how good he is, because you start bringing up timing weapons and IGLing. Like
no.
All right, so I had the opportunity to play. We both did actually. The opportunity to play against Eco a lot in Halo 3 when everybody kind of transitioned back. We started playing 8s like every night. Like basically, you were there every night. Basically, I was trying to play in those every night if I could. And what I will say is something I think about when I play against the Snipe Downs and the Roll 2s of the world, and then I play against the Ecos and the Hineses of the world. I feel the presence of the Hineses and the Ecos much more than I feel the presence of the Roll 2s and Snipe Downs. Like, unless they're on a killing frenzy, and then like obviously I'm feeling Snipe Down and like Roll 2's dominance, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like consistently, Eco's presence on a map is felt by the opponent, and that's a big factor for me. Like from a player's perspective, you did make the point.
I absolutely agree.
Like, you did make the point, like he's always making the right plays. He's always getting the clutch kills. Like it's always like Eco's the last guy alive, and he just killed your last guy alive.
And I guess that's what I was trying to stress is like, aside from what like a normal pro in like everyone's eyes does, he does that and the stuff that makes the winning plays. You know what I'm saying? And he's so good at all of them. So that's 100%. Kind of what I was trying to stress when I was mentioning like the nuances of his game. But I mean, dude, he can slay with the best of them. Like he can snipe, he can outshoot, his movement is nice. Like he does everything so well, but then he also does like everything else
IGL
too.
Like, it's difficult to do that and IGL. That was something I always struggled with. It was like when I was IGLing, it was always so hard to focus on my own gameplay, right?
Yeah.
For him to be able to balance that fairly, I say fairly well. He's a world champion, so
he's nasty.
He's doing it pretty well.
For everyone who doesn't know, who's watching this episode, Eco is one of the best players in Halo, and he has been for the last several years.
Stay woke.
Yeah, stay woke about Eco, and keep your eyes open going into Infinite, because I mean, we all know Cloud9 is going to be one of the best teams, but don't be surprised if Eco takes that even more of a next step into something like a big household name.
Yeah, Eco will always have a special place in my heart. When they had when Reach first came to PC and they were having those content creator like 10Ks every week, won one of those with Eco and Legion and Monster. It was a good time, and just to see like even in that setting. Dude, and it was a nice payday for playing some Griffball and whatever else.
That's all a squadron.
But when when it was like Action Sack, tournament for 10K, it didn't matter to him what the game types were. He was getting us in customs, like going over like, this is what we want to do, this is where we're gonna go, these are the formations we're gonna do, like taking it just as seriously as anything else. And I mean, with money like that on the line, why wouldn't you, right? So that dude, I mean, if he's underrated to you, like get your head checked, because he's a world champ. Put some respect on his name. I wanted to go back just a little bit to Wes's pick of Hines. I think like when I think of Hines, I don't think underrated. I think underappreciated. I think people didn't appreciate him because he was so humble, so soft spoken, not crazy out there. It's not boisterous. It's similar to like Damian Lillard, like the guys that aren't out there just like flaunting. I mean, now Damian's getting a lot of love, but earlier in his career, like
Damian Lillard's pretty vocal nowadays.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I'm saying like like when there's those players that aren't like constantly boosting themselves, they tend to fly under the radar a little bit more.
Kawhi Leonard.
And, like Kawhi, exactly, silent killer.
Good.
And Hines
that's a good one.
And Hines, like, dude, that's exactly what he was. Everybody that played against him knows what it felt like to have Hines on the map.
Like with Richie, like if you know, you know.
Like having him on the map on the other team, you felt it. You know what I mean? You felt it. So, I just think underappreciated because he wasn't like always gassing himself up or whatever. So
who's your pick?
Yeah, so I've been thinking about it. I had a pick when we first started, and and
Alumni.
it continues to be. It continues. Well, like, I'm be throwing shade on my boys, bro.
It's not throwing shade at them, we're throwing shade at you.
You just picked, you,
Perfect. That love.
you just picked both my teammates. No, for me it's Victory X. Plain and simple.
That's
folks
fair.
Folks talk about that final boss roster in 2010. You always hear Pistola's name get thrown around. You always hear Ogre 2 get thrown around. You always hear Fear Itself. But I mean, yeah, Fear Itself. But Victory X, I mean, it goes without saying, like, that guy and anyone that's seen his screen, the decisions he makes, the shots he hit when he needed to hit them. Absolutely unbelievable player. But, you know, he was on that roster with that many stars. He's gonna go, you know, someone's gonna get a little bit less of the limelight. And I feel like Victory X, similar to Hines, like I said, when you were playing against him, you knew. You know what I mean? When you came around a corner and he was right there, you knew if you weren't on your absolute P's and Q's, like, you were losing that fight and it was gonna cost you something on the map.
And you know what's crazy about Victory X is he did it from Halo 2 all the way to Halo 5, bro.
Yeah.
He was still teaming when people were wanting to team with Victory X. Like, Ninja was like not wanting to leave Victory X, and like people were literally trying to. That's what I'm saying. Like, there was like players with orgs and like paydays trying to take Victory X, and out of his own decision, he stepped away from the game. But
and he did it while in college and had a full-time job. Like, this man did not take time off. Like,
and just such a great person. Like, he was one of the nicest, funniest people you'll ever meet. You know?
Always smiling. You know, go ahead, Wes.
I remember one of my favorite things with Victory is we created this like saying at a LAN down in the basement one time where we would he and I would both switch between 3 cents and 4 cents, and we'd call it the 3 cents threat or the 4 cents force. And so every tournament we walk up to each other, like, we'd be like chilling.
What are you running?
Yeah, I'm a threat this weekend, baby. And then or I'd be like, man, I'm just forced on the map right now. And we always just had that thing with each other. And I mean, he was an absolute force and a threat every day of the week.
Definitely.
Yeah, like Valo said, the longevity, you know, the body of work. I mean, granted, he didn't win as much post Halo 3, but was still relevant, was still in that top 4, was still a threat. Run, you know what I mean? He went from being on the agency to being on Cloud9. Like, that's a pretty crazy glow up.
Both legendary
you know
teams,
like,
honestly.
Just insane. Yeah, so, you know, for someone to stay relevant from Halo 2 all the way through to Halo 5, that just, you know, and under the radar. But that smile, man. Walking up to an event and just seeing that dude, you know, it was a vibe. Go ahead.
Yeah. Honorary mention for me, and I'm upset.
If you say formal, I'm gonna leave.
No. I'm upset. I'm upset his name didn't come up in the conversation so far, so I'm going to bring it up. And that honorary mention is a current pro player who doesn't get appreciated as much as he should, and that is Falcated. I think Falcated is extremely underrated, man. If you ever watch this kid's screen, and I don't even know, like, I know
saying that on the broadcast this weekend when I was casting,
dude.
Like,
he
ironic.
is similar. I mean, Boo Boo Doo like got a lot of hype and has a lot of hype and name recognition now.
Got a good gamer tag.
Yeah, so, and he'd earned it, like, much, you know, due respect. Definitely, like, he put on a show when the lights were on him, and that's why he built a fan base. And similar to all these legends and these underrated players we're mentioning, you know, they just choose to just play the game and do what they're good at and dominate, and that's all that matters to them, which is, at the end of the day, that's the only thing that should matter, really. So you have to give these guys the love they deserve, and I think Falcated falls under that category. You know, he's just a dominant player. He does all the things that help his team succeed. He does all the things that you want a teammate to do. You know, obviously Boo Boo Doo and all these Shotzi, all these players that team with him, they team with him for a reason. And I think you know, I want to hear y'all's thoughts on Falcated a little bit, but I had to throw his name in this conversation.
Yeah, I said that on the broadcast basically verbatim, like how nasty I think this guy is, and every time I watch his screen, he's going off, and he's consistently doing it at this point in his career. He's still up and coming. He's still building himself a name, and it's time people stay woke to him as well. I'll let you go, Justin, on Falcated.
Yeah, I think Falcated, he falls into that Kawhi category again. Silent killer, not very super quiet, boastful, not super, you know, ego driven, just real humble, you know, head down, chin down, like getting it done kind of guy, and absolute force of a Slayer. Period. If he's not in your on your list of like best Slayers currently active in the pro scene, you're absolutely delusional. Period. He is putting up ridiculous numbers for the last since like the Reach H2A season. We've just been seeing consistent,
almost 2 years.
Plus 15,
but putting
plus
him on
20,
the best
like,
players of in Halo right now is a tough list to be on.
Period.
He's not at the top of that list.
He's not at the top of the list, but he's on it.
To be on. If
Yeah,
the
he's
list
not
is
at
the top, but
he's
he's
not
on
the
the
top,
list.
but he's on the list. Absolutely.
They let him in the VIP section for the Slayers.
Yeah, but for me, like when I think of other underrated players, I always think of the guys that were on like star-studded rosters. I think of guys like Destin, who are on these like star-studded rosters that kind of went under the radar a little bit because they had, Tzoxxic, because he had Form, all the other people on the team. I think of who else? Anyways, go ahead, Wes.
I'm throwing an honorable mention since Faisal gets one. I'm gonna take one as well to Best Man, and Best Man is another one of those guys that when I played against him, the game was a little bit harder because Best Man's presence was really felt. I honestly think
That's a good one.
I think his like placings don't represent how good of a player he was.
I agree.
But I thought the world of him, especially in Halo 3. Like I thought Best Man was the real deal. And was a problem. And when he was on, he was taking over games with the best players in the world. I promise you. So
two things about Best Man.
Well.
2 things about Best Man. He had the best emblem in Halo 2, and everyone that played him knows what it was. And then he gave the best bear hugs. That man would crack my back up and down. I would just be off the ground, suspended in the air, like when someone gives you a good bear hug, and you're like, yeah. That's how I want to start my weekend. So every time I see Nick at an event, I'm like, all right, cool.
No, yeah, Best Man. Such similar to some of these other people, super funny guy, like awesome to be around, like just definitely a presence in Halo and in real life, just like a presence in the room. So shout out to him. I had the pleasure of teaming with him a couple times, and each time it was him and Neighbor on the same team. Is just you're in for an interesting weekend. Let's just say that. So fun, fun times and memories with a lot of these players that we've mentioned. But another way for y'all to again get involved in the conversation. Let us know, if we missed someone's name, maybe an up and coming AM player, maybe a pro player you remember that we didn't mention. Let us know who you think is some of the most underrated players in Halo's history. But yeah, I'm happy we were able to have this discussion. I've been wanting to get those names out for a while.
Absolutely. I think it was a good discussion. I still vote lethal.
I'm still shaken by that. Like I'm absolutely.
I mean, the fact that you try to argue that someone else is better is just my point.
Well,
wait.
I think it's hard to say he's underrated because I don't think he's under. I think I know how nasty he is, and
I don't know if you do.
I
At
do.
This point,
like
after what I just heard you, when you started naming his teammates, I'm really not sure.
No, but
we're not saying his teammates are better than him.
It's gone long enough. I'm in an episode 38 like this on my terms. I win this conversation. Episode 38, everybody.
Oh God.
Drop a like on the video.
I'll be back. We'll be back.